on Sky News Australia. This is the Rita Panahi Show.
Welcome to the Rita Panahi Show. Coming up tonight, the hapless Victorian Liberal leader facing another lawsuit, the latest crisis facing the Biden White House, and which male athlete is being accused of toxic masculinity. Joining me tonight will be Kinsey Schofield, Alex Stein, Prue McSween, Stephanie Bastian, and making his Sky News debut, Aussie comic Jack Tossell.
I woke up, checked my privilege, and then had breakfast where I found my journalism degree. Then I wrote articles why the suburb Manly's name is problematic and how cricket whites reinforce colonialism and white supremacy.
We've got a lot to cover tonight, including lefties losing it. So let's jump right into it with Sky News contributor Prue McSween. Prue, let's start with a report on judges being selected not purely on merit, but on other factors like diversity. The Australian reports that cultural awareness and diversity will be key considerations in selecting Australian judges, while the traditional view of merit will be reassessed. This is following the first revamp of criteria for appointing judicial candidates in nearly a decade. Prue, the updated handbook was just released. Does it fill you with confidence about the justice system?
Well, it was always borderline confidence as it is, Rita, and this is just making it worse. You know, this is supposed to be progress and an improvement when we've got touchy-feely, sensitive, culturally aware, diversity embracing lawyers and judges in particular now deciding what's right and whether somebody should go to be incarcerated or get a slap on the wrist, or maybe they were a bedwetter or mummy left them as a child. I mean, it's just absurd. What we want are judges who are in tune with what the public believes is right in terms of stop this, black armband stuff about victims. And let's talk, not victims, victims being the perpetrators. And what about the victims? We never talk about, what's happened to the victim. It's always, let's be kind and nice to the person who's been, the perpetrator, and it's not right.
Well, we already have that in the justice system. I don't know how much more of it we can cope with. There's
exactly.
This preoccupation with the rights of the offender, not what's in the best interest of the community and community safety. And we can see so many soft sentences, so many times where people are getting bail, where you wonder how they're getting bail. Now, let's move on to other matters. I thought the whole work from home COVID era was over, but we learned today that 70% of the public servants in Tony Burke's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations are working from home. I mean, is that good enough? That's a fairly key ministry to have most of the workforce in their pyjamas at home.
Well, looking at what he's churning out, I'm not surprised. We have a situation where it's do as I say, not what I do, because he's the man who's telling employers that they have to allow their staff to disconnect, that the staff virtually rule the roost now, and the employer is going to get fined and face all sorts of prosecutions if he doesn't allow, his workers or her workers to, be hands off. And it's just ridiculous, because when you're running a business, as I do, you need to be able to contact your employees. It may be actually to say, don't come to work tomorrow, you've worked so hard, stay home. It's so absurd that we have this situation. There's enough pressure on employers now without introducing all these ridiculous laws. And I just hope, I know that the opposition's talking about getting rid of them the minute they get in, but in the meantime, we have Burke who's just falling over backwards to accommodate his union masters. None of these ministers have ever worked in private enterprise and would know the hardships that face, business. So it's hypocrisy gone crazy.
Well, let's have a look at what's happening with public servants in New South Wales and how much they're earning. A new report shows that there's 166 bureaucrats in New South Wales earning salaries higher than Premier Chris Minns. Again, Prue, is this money well spent? It could be that if you need to attract the best candidates, you've got to pay those sorts of salaries.
Well, I agree with you. If you've got the best people in the jobs, then you definitely, when you're competing with the commercial world, have to pay them an equitable amount. But in this case, let's look, for example, the Department of Transport. It is pathetic. Everything it touches seems to be stuffed up. In Sydney, for example, we have this shocking Rozelle. It's just a nightmare. That's all you can call it, a Rozelle nightmare, where it's costing people and productivity millions of dollars because they've just planned it so badly. And it's happening in virtually every bureaucracy around New South Wales and I'm sure in other states. So if we can attract the right people, but the problem is it's a public service. They have a mentality where everything has to be groupthink. They have to have kumbaya sessions. And sadly, we have a situation where, we have inept people earning these big salaries and not serving the public.
And I would argue that you just simply do not have the pressures you have in the private sector and the accountability there. The job security in the public service seems to be quite good for those bureaucrats. Now let's go to Victoria, where City of Melbourne Lord Mayor Sally Capp's pet project, the Green Line, well, it may end up costing us $500 million. If it's ever built, that is. The project was estimated to cost $316 million, but sources close to the project have told the Herald Sun the final figure is a lot closer to $500 million. We keep seeing these big projects blow out, whether it's state governments, local government, federal government, and it's our money.
Well, this is the thing. It's public servants again who obviously haven't done realistic business modelling and costings. And it shows you again how inept they are. And they don't care because it's not their money. In particular, Sally Capps has this totally progressive woke agenda. She's been overstepping the mark for Melbourne City Council. I mean, for goodness sake, I don't know. She's obviously using it as a job, profile raising so she can get into, federal or state politics more so. But, this is the woman who, wanted to ban whips in horse racing and, Australia Day. She's had her fingers in everything. This Green Line thing sounds like a great idea, but haven't we got other priorities, I would have thought, for Victoria, which is billions of dollars in debt? It's like a household. When you have huge debt, you have to pull the reins in, and all these lovely fantasy projects, things that you'd like to do, have to be put on the shelf. But sadly for her, she's out. She wants to raise her profile, and this is like one big job interview for her.
I think this is her legacy dream, that this Green Line, this will be the big project with a lasting impact on the city. Now let's go to a story that's making headlines, and it's a little bit disturbing if you ask me. A fight between Year 10 schoolgirls from two of Melbourne's most prestigious schools has been caught on camera. It's not isolated. The problem is there's hundreds of these fight club videos involving students being posted in Australia, around the world. It seems to be a trend, and often these days, Prue, involving girls. Are girls finding their inner toxic masculinity?
Well, this is equality we don't want to see. If it's bad enough boys, getting the old fisticuffs out. But makes you wonder, doesn't it? We've got this situation where social media can be a very good thing and it can be an absolutely toxic thing. And in this case, we've got young girls who obviously are taking their fight from social media into the real world. And you have to wonder what's going on in their homes. I mean, they're from private schools, so you would think that there would be some degree of a family sort of responsibility and, the usual, teaching respect and tolerance and understanding and manners and femininity and all of those things. But they seem to have been just lost. And you have these young women who, for God's sake, I don't know what's wrong with them. There must be so much anger inside these young people that they have to resort to this kind of bullying and toxic behaviour. It's terrifying, but I have to look at the home. I blame the parents. The environment at home must be wrong to allow these kids or encourage these kids to think that this is acceptable behaviour.
Oh, it is a mess. The fact that they're doing it in such a public place, they can see everyone's got their phones out filming it. They're in their school uniform. So that to me is one of the shocking things. You know, back in my day, you would get out of your uniform if you're going to behave like that. Not that I would ever do that, Prue. Prue McSween, thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, UK women's rights activist Kellie-Jay Keen, also known as Posie Parker, has joined Moira Deeming in taking legal action against Victorian Liberal leader John Pesutto. Ms Keen has also issued defamation concerns notices against the ABC. The cases are heading to the federal court. Joining me now is Stephanie Bastian, Research Fellow at Women's Forum Australia. Stephanie, we've got another woman also, another women's rights campaigner, Angie Jones, also taking legal action against John Pesutto. Surely he cannot remain leader of the Victorian Liberal Party.
Well, Rita, thank you for having me on tonight. It has been nearly 12 months since the Let Women Speak rally, and John Pesutto has not apologised to any of these women that he has defamed. Angie Jones, Moira Deeming, Kellie-Jay Keen. And he also hasn't condemned the violent trans rights activists who turned up to assault women and to stop them from talking about their sex-based rights in public. John Pesutto made a decision to use his position of power to throw these women to the wolves, and it has had an enormous impact on their lives. For Angie Jones, it was weaponised against her in divorce proceedings. It impacted her children's lives at school and her role in the community. For Kellie-Jay Keen, the media followed her to New Zealand, where she was subsequently assaulted and had to leave the country because of the threat on her life. And of course, we saw what unfolded with Moira Deeming, where she was unjustly and arguably unconstitutionally booted from the Liberal Party room. So I am so pleased these women are able to hold him to account in court. For as far as I'm concerned, unless he turns around and apologises and also reinstates Moira Deeming into the party room, he should not be leader.
Well, the apology would want to be a grovelling one, because what happened here is inexcusable, if you ask me. I'm not a lawyer, but from what I've seen of these cases, I'm very happy that Angie Jones has joined this legal action, because her case is particularly grievous. But all three women, all he had to do was come out and stand by his MP, who had done absolutely nothing wrong, who had told him she was going to this rally, who was speaking up about the rights of women. She wasn't there to defame anybody, to spill bile or hate. She was there to stand up for women's rights, and she was mercilessly attacked by Dan Andrews. And instead of standing by what's right, standing by his MP, John Pesutto decided he was going to be even harsher on Moira Deeming than Dan Andrews was. He was going to treat her even worse, and he released that dossier about her, which seemed to be sourced mainly from Wikipedia. I mean, it was just amateur hour antics, if you ask me. Now, let's move on to a recent case of a trans TikTok star who turned out to be a predatory pedophile who had repeatedly abused two young children. The story has been reported widely, Stephanie, and you have taken issue with the way it's been reported. Explain to my audience why you consider some of this reporting or much of this reporting to be inaccurate in one key area.
Well, Rita, it's not just inaccurate, it's incredibly harmful. So the media are reporting a male pedophile who abused two children, who then transitioned or started wearing woman face after the fact to become this TikTok celebrity as a woman, as she. And part of the problem with the way that they're reporting this is it provides license to these criminals, these offenders, to hide their identity. It's the reason they're going along with the narrative that these men, these predatory men, are women, And the consequence of that is that they're being put into women's prisons, women's spaces. It's just part of the protection racket. These men need to be reported as males. They need to have the pronouns he, him. They should not be permitted, they should not be indulged to be called women by the press.
Stephanie Bastian, thank you so much for your time this evening. Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with some late-breaking Lefties Losing It, with enraged trans activists taking over the Iowa state capitol to stop a bill that will classify gender based on biology. You know, scientific fact. Did you notice all the masks there? It is 2024. These people are something else. I've got to say, watching this, one word came to mind. It starts with in and ends with surrection. Remember when we're all concerned about that? Now let's go to more recent Lefties Losing It. This is from earlier today in London, where anti-Israel protesters caused major disruption, completely shutting down Whitehall. So there are cops there doing not much. I don't know if they're giving them a group hug. These mobs seem to have no fear of police. Police force allows them to cause major disruptions, closing down major roads, stopping people going to work, going to hospital, going about their business, just so they can protest the only Jewish state in the world. But they're not anti-Semitic. They want you to know that. Now let's have a Lefty Losing It in academia. Here is Dante King speaking at University of California, San Francisco, about his favourite topic, diagnosing whiteness.
Whites are psychopaths, and their behavior represents an underlying biologically transmitted proclivity with roots deep in their evolutionary history. How many of you could see the proclivity that evolved deep within the evolutionary history of whiteness? By show of hands. How many of you could see it? Some people are sitting here, oh no, I don't want to raise my hand. That's called denial. There's no discussion about the delusion and the perversion of whiteness.
Yep. He also claims that whites are psychopathic sexual predators.
Say this with me. Rape culture in America is a legal, economic, and moral institution. So we have it written in the law, you can rape Black women.
Now let's go to a video that is sure to confuse your average race-obsessed lefty.
I am a.
I am a.
I am a. You want me to say what? I'm a white colonizer.
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 We are white colonizers.
I am a white colonizer.
I am a white colonizer.
I'm a white colonizer.
I am a white colonizer.
I am a white.
A white. A white. A white.
A white.
A white. A white. A white.
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 I'm a white.
I'm a white colonizer.
Colonizer. Colonizer.
Colonizer.
Colonialist. Colonialist, no?
I'm a white colonizer.
I am a white colonizer.
We are a white colonizers.
Yes, more than 2/3 of Israelis are people of colour. That video via Israel So White, you can find them on Instagram. Now don't go anywhere, because the next segment you are guaranteed to laugh. I have the very droll Melbourne comic Jack Tossell, who is not afraid to poke fun at everybody, including the wokies, and I'll cross to the US to speak with the hilarious Alex Stein. Welcome back. Now, last week I played a clip from a funny Australian dude, Jack Tossell, who has an incredible following online with his videos viewed millions of times. And of course, the clip went viral with folks wanting more. Well, you asked and you shall receive. Jack Tossell joins me now. Welcome to the program, Jack. The video I played, you mocked the noble profession of journalism. Let's have a look.
I woke up, checked my privilege, and then had breakfast where I found my journalism degree. Then I wrote articles why the suburb Manly's name is problematic and how cricket whites reinforce colonialism and white supremacy. For lunch, I had corn from a farmer's market and a hit of my vape. I then went to the park for a smoking ceremony. I spent the rest of my day on Twitter and Facebook abusing baby boomers with different opinions to me. Lastly, I called my capitalist pig dad to see if the beach house is free. I'm due for a sick day.
Now, you are not just a comic, you're a country boy who's turned into a finance dude, and you give it to everybody. The finance dudes cop it, the farmers cop it. Is there anyone who's you're too scared to mock?
Oh, no one's safe. I'll say the one people I probably wouldn't mess with again, the astrology girls, because they go hard.
I had no idea. I thought you were going to say the Taylor Swift fans because they can be vicious.
I haven't had a crack at them yet. I'll put them on the list, especially after the NFL Grand Final, Super Bowl, I should say.
Yeah, well, she's going to be in town, so this is perfect timing. Do a Swiftie video. Oh, my God, they are going to come for you. Now, you've also poked fun at the ABC's Triple J. Let's have a look at that.
Make sure to check your privilege before this banger from up-and-coming non-binary trio out of Canberra who are killing it. Up next on The Hack, the benefits of microdosing ketamine. Brian from Brunswick's just texted in. Loving the vibes. Keep them up. This year's countdown winner, the very first cis female person of colour rap artist who's also left-handed and lactose intolerant. I hope everyone's enjoying the countdown and their gender-neutral vegan barbecues.
Now, when you put up a video like that, I'm sure the overwhelming majority of your followers love it. You're getting millions of views, but do you also cop a little bit of hate from the people who are just humorless, who get offended easily? What sort of comments do you get?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you are poking the bear, and you just got to accept it's part of the business. You know, no one ever got anywhere without standing on a few toes.
That is true, and your farmer videos are amongst your most popular. Here you give advice on what to name your son if you don't want him to grow up to embarrass you.
If you want your son to stand a fighting chance of becoming a piss-shifting legend and not a soy latte sipping socialist, it starts with a good strong name. Strong blokes' names include Bruce, Barry, Trevor, Daryl, Wayne, Warren or Damien. Examples of non-blokes' names include Julian or anything that sounds remotely French.
Julian. This is, I think, what could be wrong with society. There's too many Julians, not enough Bruces these days. Who names their kid Bruce?
Certainly not me. I'm more of a Trevor sort of man.
Hey?
More of a Trevor sort of man.
Have you got any kids yet?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Not on the radar either.
Well, you're going to have the pressure on you. Now, let's go to this video. You did this, I think, 6-part series on Melbourne, similar for Sydney, where you assess what your suburb says about you. Let's just have a quick look.
What your suburb says about you. You're either a woke warrior that's too poor to live in Fitzroy or a kebab shop owner. Affluent Karens, think Prue and Trude. You'd rather lose a limb than send your kids to a public school. Located on the Mekong, Maribyrnong, you make the best pho in Melbourne. If you're a Sheila, you're probably studying beauty therapy at Sunshine TAFE. What your suburb says about you. The 1%. Elitist briefcase wankers, also littered with real estate agents trying to get locals to sell their house. Similar in safety to Johannesburg. You're either stealing someone's car or you're stuck in a suburb because someone stole your car. You're not from the North Shore and you never will be. Stop lying to yourself.
Do you have researchers? Because your knowledge on so many different issues, whether it's suburbs, pubs, arts degrees, seems to be extensive. Have you got people who are sort of feeding you material, or where are you getting? Because you have to be accurate. If you're not accurate and it doesn't have that ring of truth about it, it's not funny.
I do have a few ghostwriters from Sydney and I kind of add a bit of a creative licence on top of it. But in terms of the Melbourne one, I'm pretty lucky. I went to boarding school in the southeastern suburbs. I went to university in Parkville. I lived in Brunswick. Don't hold it against me.
Ah, that explains a little bit,
And
because sometimes you go a little bit woke on us. Sometimes you get a little bit woke, but then you come back to the side of
And now I'm based in the south of the Yarra leafy suburbs. So,
oh, really?
So I've been everywhere. That's where I get the information from.
Well, this is what we need. We need mockery and laughter and less offence-taking. There's just so much preciousness. And I'm sure there would have been a bit of preciousness about this video where you poke fun at different types of degrees.
Dad, can I have some money for rent? So what if I'm 37 and don't have a job? No, I don't have time to talk. Do you know how much study I've got on? I honestly hate Stacey so much. Hold on, I got on a call. Oh, Stacey, it's so good to hear from you.
Yes, the accounting one was my favourite. Accurate. How do you juggle your comedy with your very serious role during the day? Because you are in the finance world, handling people's money. Do you have anybody nervous that your comedy is, preoccupying your time?
I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, especially when you're in a sort of advice or a role where you're dealing with clients and people, you want characters, you want people who are outgoing. So you can't seek those people and then crack it when they actually have a bit of a personality and creative.
What industries are the funniest?
Funniest in terms of to make a mockery out of, or?
Well, that, and also just have people who've got a sense of humour who can take it and they're not going to...
Certainly not accountants, and sorry for all the accountants I work with.
The accountants are a bit dry.
Yeah, they are, unfortunately.
And who are the wild ones? Who are the ones who you know are going to be a good time?
I think anyone who works in a sales role, don't know why, they've got personalities and they're outgoing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you've got to be sort of a outgoing extrovert type, don't you?
Probably also a lot with drinking problems as well.
That could have something to do with it. Now, let's just have a look at one last one. And I love this one because this has actually got some sharp social and economic commentary. It's not just funny.
Sir, we've had a number of complaints that you've been underpaying your workers. We're going to need a list of your employees and how much they're getting paid. Well, there's the Irish backpacker who gets free rent and board and is on about $1,000 a week. Old Jimmy, also free rent and board, on about $1,200 a week. And then there's the halfwit. He does about 18 hours work a day, 90% of the work around here, and pays for his own rent and board. He gets paid about $20 a week, but I do buy him a bottle of Bundy every Saturday night. Now, that's the guy I need to talk to, the halfwit. That would be me, Jack Tossell. Nice to meet you.
Now, you are a country boy, so you got some insight there. Do you get much of a response from farmers? Because you do quite a few of those farming videos and very popular, millions of people watching them.
I think they love them at the end of the day, and it's very much that Australian larrikin sort of culture. I can make infinite jokes about farmers, at their expense, and they will just absolutely get around them and love nothing more. Unfortunately, some of the lefties in Brunswick, not quite the same.
Not so much, yeah. You just stay in the southern suburbs for now, Jack. Stay safe. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Joining me now is the host of Blaze TV's Primetime with Alex Stein. It's the man himself, Primetime 99, Alex Stein. We're going to get to some of your recent antics, including hanging with President Trump when you're not fighting enraged protesters. But I want to start with President Biden, who has just joined TikTok.
Chiefs or Niners?
Two great quarterbacks, hard to decide. But if I didn't say I was for the Eagles, then I'd be sleeping alone. My wife's a Philly girl.
Game or commercials?
Game.
Game or halftime show?
Game.
Jason Kelce or Travis Kelce?
Mama Kelce. I understand she makes great chocolate chip cookies.
It's all fun and games, Alex, until you remember that TikTok is pretty much a form of Chinese spyware. In Australia, we've got a nationwide ban of TikTok on government devices. There is no TikTok on government devices in this country, but I would have thought that was pretty obvious why that is. But when John Kirby, President Biden's top national security spokesman, was asked about this issue, he seemed confused.
Why did the president allow his campaign, allow his campaign to go on TikTok despite the national security review of the platform?
I'd have to refer you to the campaign.
But I mean, it's still the president of the United States. The president is sending a message to Americans about the safety of TikTok by doing this?
I'd have to refer you to the campaign on that.
The president on TikTok, how desperate is he that he would do that given all the security implications?
Well, Rita, let me just give you some cold, hard facts. America has a fentanyl overdose crisis that's happening, and China is directly involved doing business with the Mexican cartels to bring in not only immigrants, but to bring in drugs. And Joe Biden knows that China is poisoning American citizens with fentanyl. So do you think he cares about TikTok? Yeah, right. I mean, that's like the least of his worries. So as a matter of fact, I mean, he probably is working some sort of backdoor deal. I mean, his son Hunter had all kinds of weird business dealings with China. So, I mean, you know, I'd like to complain about this. I'd like to clutch my pearls on this, but this is the least of my worries, is that Joe Biden is finally doing some TikToks. I'm just happy that he can talk. I mean, I'm happy that he can actually look into a camera because, you know, his mind is depreciating every single day, and he's only getting worse. My cat Angus right here is smarter. Rita, Angus, my kitten Angus is smarter than Joe Biden. Get out of here,
Angus, look at him. Adorable. You know what? I know you're saying with all the issues that are facing the Biden administration and facing the country, this is minor, but we are talking about the Chinese Communist Party here and their surveillance of Americans and its surveillance of the White House. Why would you make that easier for them? What message are you sending when other countries are banning TikTok from government devices for the president to just be on it and promoting it? It is odd. Now, got to tell me about the time you've been spending with President Donald Trump. What is he really like? And did he give you any hints on who his VP pick is going to be?
You know, honestly, Donald Trump and the entire Trump family have only been gracious and incredibly nice to me. But I wish I could tell you that I had some inside info on who's going to be his running mate. I think Vivek Ramaswamy would be the best choice, personally. Vivek's young. He's a disruptor. I think he, you know, represents both sides of the aisle generally. He's not just, you know, quote unquote far right. So I think that he would resonate to a lot of the people that are centric or in the middle or undecided. So I don't know. I mean, also there's a lot of qualified, smart women, but I wish I could tell you, because if I did, I'd be betting all the money on one of those, you know, political gambling sites. But I really don't personally know. But if I had to go with my gut or who I would choose, I would go with Vivek Ramaswamy personally.
I think he's possibly the most popular choice amongst the Trump backers, but I don't know. I think one of those female governors, perhaps the Arkansas governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, could also be in the running. Now, we lost a great to cancer last week. Toby Keith passed away at the age of 62. He'd been battling stomach cancer for several years. Alex, you had this rather disgraceful tribute to a country icon on your program. Let's have a look.
Toby Keith would always vote red, but that doesn't matter, cause now you are dead, so now you can't vote in the next election.
Really, Alex? Like, I want to cancel you myself for that. The man is an icon. But somehow you're not the one copying the heat for that. It is Taylor Swift who is copying all sorts of criticism for not paying a big tribute to the man who pretty much discovered her. Let's have a look at this old footage.
She came to Nashville last year writing her own songs, singing them, and hoping someone would like them. Toby Keith did. So much so that he just signed her to his new record label. That makes them partners.
You're in the room with him and you can feel it. There's a power there and you're just like, oh my God. So I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I won't see him and be like, oh my God, that's Toby Keith.
Alex, has Taylor said anything about the passing of the man who gave her a record deal, or gave her very first record deal? And also, would you like to apologise for what you did?
Personally, I would like to apologize to Toby Keith and the Keith family. You know, he was an icon. I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but, you know, I'm not surprised that Taylor Swift disrespected him. She also didn't hug Celine Dion when she accepted the Grammy, and Celine Dion was the presenter. So Taylor Swift is, she's all about Taylor Swift. So I'm really not surprised. She probably should have stood up and said something about him, but maybe because his political ideologies are more conservative. I don't know, but I would hate for her to be that catty considering the guy basically discovered her. So, once again, I'm sick of Taylor Swift. They talk about what of her album is 1989. It's literally 1984, but it's 1989. We're just we're being programmed to have to watch her 24/7. It's really like an Orwell novel. It's Orwellian how much Taylor Swift is being thrown in our face, especially here in America.
Well, she's about to land in Australia, so she'll be off your hands for a little while. Before you go, in recent months, I saw some footage of you getting attacked again by protesters. I don't know what it is about you that attracts these people who just can't control themselves. And one of them threw a shoe at you. Let's have a look at what you did.
Why you see me? All right, hey, guys, take this. That's what you get. That's what you get.
These triggered lefties aren't too clever, are they, Alex?
No, honestly, and now they're literally losing their shoes over it. But the shoes that missed George Bush, sometimes I think the world we'd live in would be totally different if that shoe would have hit George Bush. So I guess I was primed for this moment. When you beat somebody intellectually and they have to throw the shoe at you, you have the upper hand. So it is what it is. I love the confrontation, Rita. So, bring it on. I just hope and pray for my family's sake I don't ever get hurt by one of these protesters. But other than a few shoes or a few mean words or even being spit on, I can handle that no problem.
Alex Stein, we love you. You're incorrigible, but you are also just adorable. And we also like your pets who you bring on the program intermittently. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rita. You're the best. I got to come out to Australia. I'm going to be out there, and I'm going to bug all the people at Sky News very soon. So be on the lookout. Summer 2024.
Welcome back. It's been a huge couple of weeks for the royal family and the celebrity and sporting world with the Grammys and Super Bowl. Here with the latest news is host of the To Die For Daily podcast, Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, let's start with King Charles. He released a statement on Sunday thanking everyone for their well wishes. Do we know anything more about his cancer diagnosis and how long he will be missing from action?
Well, I do anticipate that we're going to see him sooner rather than later, because if you'll recall, it was Prince Charles at the time that really encouraged Queen Elizabeth to step out on her balcony, even though she'd had to cancel so many events during her Platinum Jubilee. It was King Charles, then Prince Charles, that said it's really important that the public see you. And he encouraged her to have that incredible moment that I think will live on for history on the balcony, Queen Elizabeth standing there with the family during her Platinum Jubilee. So I am encouraged by that. I believe that we're going to see him sooner than later, because that he has, he's just very resilient as a person. And then we also saw him at church on Sunday, which to me was important because it feels like he wanted to be the king of all faiths, but I feel like you're really seeing him lean into his specific faith right now, thrust into this kind of horrific situation. And I know that will touch a lot of people's hearts. But Rita, I did not see this coming. This is the wildest time in royal commentary history for me. And I've been along for the Harry and Meghan train.
Kinsey, on Prince Harry, he had that lightning visit with King Charles. He spent 30 to 40 minutes with him and flew straight back to the US. No meeting with Prince William, no meeting with Queen Camilla. What is the state of that relationship?
There were 50% of us that said that Harry was using this, he was, like an opportunist, right? That, oh my gosh, Harry gets this bad news and jumps on a plane to look like the hero. And then there were and I wasn't one of those people, okay? I was of the 50% that saying this indicates something very serious. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's be kind, because this is a horrible situation that the family finds themselves in. So Harry jumps on a plane. His 30 minutes with dad, which, as you and I know, is an episode of Friends, jumps back on a plane, goes back to LA. And within a few hours, is at the NFL Honors Award, is at a glossy award show in Las Vegas, where the last time we associated Prince Harry in Las Vegas, he was naked running around Las Vegas with some cute girls, young girls. So I felt like, oh my goodness. It wasn't to be with your dad. It wasn't because it was important to you to bring comfort to your father. It was just so that you weren't destroyed for showing up at the NFL Honors Awards to hand out a trophy to he has nothing to do with American football. Why was he there? He was there because it was the climax of the football season. He was trying to insert himself in a major news story. And I believe that he has, I believe he's building a relationship with Paramount. He was with the Paramount CEO on the red carpet of the Bob Marley movie premiere. He took their private jet over to Jamaica, and the NFL Honors Award show was streamed on Paramount Plus. So I think that, to me, he just looks ruthless. He looks so vain, and I'm exhausted by him, and I'm so tired of giving him the benefit of the doubt and being disappointed by him.
Well, talking about being exhausted, Jay-Z seems to have exhausted a lot of music fans. He's been met with a backlash after his Grammy speech, where he was accused of appearing entitled and graceless, ungrateful. Tell me about the fallout from that speech. He was given a great honour. It's incredible that it's ended in this sort of criticism.
It was a great honor. And he steps up, he accepts this award for being this icon. And he thanks everyone, but then he stops to say, I feel like I don't want to embarrass her, but I'm going to take this moment to say that, my wife hasn't received an Album of the Year award. And he's kind of using it as his soapbox to complain about his wife, Beyonce, who has won and has been nominated for like the most Grammys ever. I mean, she is the face of the Grammys at this point in time. She has so many trophies. I would be surprised if she didn't have her own room dedicated to them. It just looked kind of like unnecessary. It was almost a Kanye West moment, where he was trying to defend his wife, but in reality, it just did not pan out the way it probably played out in his head. Now, Beyonce looked upon him like lovingly in the audience and just kind of like gazed up at her husband. But I don't think that it had the effect that he wanted it to have. It just wasn't a good reflection on either one of them. Go up there, accept your trophy, and just walk away and be happy that you've had this incredible moment, that somebody was acknowledging you. You can go complain about this later on the carpet, but this is an award show where you are around your peers. The people that you are mad at are sitting in that audience, but the people that are at home watching you, they don't want to hear that. They just want to love you and listen to your music.
Absolutely. I think it was very much a planned event, and it just did not come off the way they expected it to. I don't think it was an off-the-cuff comment that he just thought of at the last second on stage. And you mentioned Kanye. Of course, he interrupted Taylor Swift when she had won an award, and yesterday at the Super Bowl, we saw Taylor Swift. Almost saw more of her than we did a lot of the players. But an amazing victory for her boyfriend. And after the game, Travis Kelce had this to say.
Been fighting for all right all day. How about a little Viva Las Vegas? Viva Las Vegas! Viva! Viva Las Vegas!
Oh, gosh. Taylor, in some of the shots there, looked a bit, I don't know, taken aback. I don't know if she was reconsidering this entire relationship, thinking about the next album she could write once she dumps him. What did you make of that? Am I being too harsh? Because that was just a bizarre little reaction. And yeah.
I've made a couple of weird comments on your program because I try to censor myself when you and I talk about this. And there is no one I love talking about this more than you. You're my best girlfriend when it comes to Travis and Taylor gossip. But what I want to say in the nicest way possible, acknowledging how ambitious and talented Travis Kelce is that he gives off K-Fed. And Taylor Swift is way too good for him. And one day she's going to wake up and see it, okay? I'm enjoying this ride, and I am on this ride for the long haul. But Taylor's way too good for him. And it's like you said, there's going to be music one day that is going to break our hearts and make our hearts based solely on this relationship, and that the countdown is on. This is so much fun to watch, but I am glad the Super Bowl is over because I need a break from these two.
Before you go, though, I've got to get your take on all the online discussion about this incident where Travis Kelce manhandled his coach.
The fumble comes over to Andy. He goes, "Keep me in." What happened is, on the fumble, he was not in the game. Noah Gray went in, and he had to block.
Kinsey, is that acceptable? It is, after all, the masculine world of gridiron, or is it just disrespectful and there's no place for that? Plenty of athletes have weighed in on this issue. Some have defended Kelce. Some have said if they ever behave like that, they'd be sacked. What has been the reaction online?
Yeah, I mean, the reaction online is Chief fans going, "I love Travis, but this is unacceptable." Football is about discipline. Football is about, following the rules, understanding that there's an ultimate objective, and everybody being in sync to make sure that you execute that properly. I think that he did look a little out of control. It wasn't his best moment, but the pressure was on. We understand that this is a huge game, and the pressure is on this guy a lot because never in his life has he, although he did a reality dating show, I don't think he ever in his life imagined sitting down at a football press conference and being hounded about, like, what was he going to buy a ring for Taylor? He has a lot of attention on him right now. I don't know how much he appreciates it, but I don't agree with it, but I'm going to cut the guy some slack based on the fact that this was a very intense game.
Oh, the most intense of games. Kinsey Schofield, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
That's it from me. I'll see you tomorrow night at 11. Up next is Newsnight. Good night.